Hello, this is Ken Decker. Welcome you back to another episode of The Inside Track, where we share ideas, insights that we all need to make our house a home.
And help our families thrive, because that's what it's all about. Today, we're going to talk about what could be kind of a sensitive topic, or it could be a fun topic, because there's reasons for restarting or resetting that are really, really happy. Well, really, really happy. And others that are really difficult. So I was already thinking about the ones that were difficult.
Yes. And it's interesting that we've helped about 760 families navigate the tougher seasons in life.
Right.
And we've also helped well over 1,510 navigate the fun seasons in life.
I like the fun seasons more.
So that's almost 2 for 1. That's very close, 2 to 1.
Right, which is good.
And they say selling or buying real estate is one of the most stressful times of a person's life. And quite often, the reason it's the most stressful is it's tied in with another stressful life event.
It is.
Yeah.
And so what it requires, and we're going to encourage you even within your families, that what it requires is sensitivity to one another, is a heightened awareness of sensitivity, because what is difficult for one person in a relationship, or some of the family members, if we talk about our younger members of the family, what may be difficult for them may be exciting for you. Moving to a new area and having some new friends and having new opportunity to get the amenities and the shorter commute may be really exciting for you. And yet, for a younger person, to change schools may be really, really stressful. And having new friends as an adult, if it's still in the same city, you can drive across town. You don't have to get new friends. You can keep the friends you have. And yet, for the younger members of the family, that could be really stressy. Right? So within the context of the family, sensitivity is required, because what's super bubbly and exciting for one may be basically devastating to another.
Exactly.
And then for us as your realtor, and I'm vacillating back and forth between enthusiasm, excitement, and this sense of dread for you. Because when it's a difficult reason that the move is happening, such as death or separation or divorce or anything, family troubles of any kind, financial scenarios that are difficult, then it just requires an extra grade of sensitivity. We want to be with you in the journey and yet still be able to help you navigate it so that you can make great decisions. Because unfortunately, what we've seen all too often is when there's huge negative stressors going on in someone's life, rather than making great decisions about what's at hand, it's actually much harder to make a good decision. It's much easier to make a poor decision when you're in a difficult situation. And so we get to be that third party advocate for you and sounding board, and sometimes simply a voice of reason, remembering the viable options that are out there and maybe highlighting one that fell to the backside.
And it can be even, knowing that there's a voice of empathy and yet wisdom and objectiveness, because we understand what you're going through and we really care for you. And on top of that, we have that level of separation, so we can help with the tough decisions, what do we do next, and making wise decisions in a tough period. Sometimes it's periods where the mobility of someone has gotten poor and they can no longer navigate the house they're in, or other health issues have caused them that maybe they need to go into assisted living or a bungalow or a condo. And sometimes that can be, just saying, oh, I've got to move from my family home that I've been in for 20, 50, 60 years in some cases, and I've got to move into a condo, and I'm not real comfortable with that. And that transition, that change. Change is tough for many, many people. And yet we've found where we've had clients call us up and they go, it was really tough to sell the family home and get away from the landscaping and the large lot and the cutting grass, and I'm in this, this condo, and yet I've met new friends that are in the same season of life as I'm in, and now we play bridge, or we do shuffleboard or whatever. We have dinners.
Work in the tool
potlucks.
shop downstairs in the apartment building, and build things they hadn't been able to build for years because now they've got a buddy to do it with.
Yeah. It can really change our outlook, because sometimes we silently suffer through life or through a transition in life because not wanting to change, we prevent the next season of life from coming, which could be a blessing.
Right. I mean, sometimes it's as challenging a situation as, I'm thinking of I have so many favorite clients, but two of my favorite clients, we'll call them Mary and Bob. And Bob was really sick. He knew that the end was probably closer than he wanted it to be. And he wanted Mary to have a home that suited her, not a home that suited them, because he probably wasn't going to be there. And so helping them figure out, letting him be as much of the process as he could be, given he was very ill. And he felt so good knowing that Mary was taken care of, that she was going to be in a space that actually suited her as a single person versus a couple. And difficult as it was, I was so grateful to be able to journey with them both through that season, because it was a privilege. It was an honor to be able to come alongside and navigate that season of their life and celebrate Bob's life when he unfortunately did pass away, before Mary got settled into the new house and after all the decisions had been made. Right? So empty nesting is another time which can create some stress, and not maybe quite as much stress as that scenario.
For me, it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's when the kids leave.
Not everybody feels that way.
No, I know
Some people
that.
find it incredibly difficult when the home they're in no longer fits, because it worked great for a family and now doesn't work great just as a couple.
Yeah, for us, our kids moved, but only 15 minutes away. Other friends of ours, their family, their children move, but they move across the world.
Right.
That's tough.
That would be more difficult from an empty nest perspective. Ours still come over, as often as we want. I was going to say more often, and that's actually not true. And we get to work with them, so we have an added joy of that. And in those sensitive situations, because there's often unhealthy or unhappy situations associated with it, whether it's financial or any of the other things we've talked about. Sometimes what it requires us to do as their realtor, and we do this in individual situations. We don't market this. We don't have any gimmick promotions around it, because we believe it needs to be based on serving that specific family, not as a gimmick to have clients call us. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, it's perfect, but they don't know what you're talking about yet, so it might have our listener confused.
Okay.
But they'll get it once we explain.
So what we will do sometimes when that's what our client is looking for is give them a loan to be able to get the mortgage caught up or get the taxes caught up or do what needs to happen in the short term so that they're positioned to sell the home, or update some mortgage payments because the bank's about to take it. And if we don't help them right now, we just had a family like a couple weeks ago that found themselves dealing with a very sensitive family situation, as well as a very unstable financial situation, because often these come packaged together. And they were going to lose the house to the bank and lose more equity than they would if we helped them navigate the situation. So we were able to loan them some money to get things caught up so that we could keep the financial institution away, and we could quickly sell the home because we knew what it would take, and sell it for more than they ever would have sold it for had they gone through the legal process.
Yeah, the issue with going the power of sale route is the bank takes it back, and yes, they have a requirement to try and get the most, but the buyers know it's with a bank, so they know it's power of sale, so they're trying to get it down. And then the interest and the
legal fees
of getting you removed from the house, them getting possession of it, changing the locks, maintaining it while it's being marketed and closed, all of
the
that,
appraisal process,
all of that
yeah,
costs you money. So it's always, always, always in your best interest, if possible, to get away from that. Like, give them a little bit of money, or find some money to pay a payment or two, or in this case, we just caught it right up to date, so they would stop all proceedings, and then let's get it on the market at the right price.
Yeah,
and let's sell it without that due pressure of a pending power of sale.
Right, and when we're able to do that, no one has to know except us what is about to take place for that client. So we're keeping the value as high as the value could ever be on the property and giving more money back to the seller. So it's making the very best of a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
And then at times, the other thing we will do
is, like, recently I had a widow who had recently lost her husband, and she wanted to move. And she wanted to know that she could move now. Because some people are fine with staying in the home after a spouse has passed away, and other ones just want to change. They
need to restart, and they need to restart basically
They
now.
need to press the reset button.
Yep.
And for them, it means getting out of the house as quick as possible. So in that case, she asked for our guaranteed sale. And we offered a guaranteed sale, and we sold the property actually very quickly, well above the guaranteed sale price. So she won in both cases, right? She got her guaranteed sale so she could go make plans for where she wanted to go.
And she had peace of mind and confidence and not second guessing, and she didn't have to worry about couldn't she. She went and did everything we needed to do so she could get into the new property. And then at the same time, we still work diligently, because it's a timeline, that it's a very specific process that we follow. And it allowed her to get a lot more money for the house than us just buying it out right there, because she was prepared to do that.
Yep.
And you said, it's not in your best interest. Let's work this out so you win. And yes, you can know that you've got your house sold, and yet let's see if we can't sell it for more, which we did in a matter of days. Felt so good.
Yes.
Yes. Another difficult situation.
Another win
best.
for our client.
Yeah, another win. So reasons you might want to reset, or areas, really reset often is about a new area. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it can be. You could do a restart or reset because you've got a new job and it's in a new location.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah,
could be fun.
Whether it's in another part of the city or another part of the province, or even outside of the province or outside of the country. The change when you're going to a new area is significant.
Right.
And the first person I usually talk about is your children. If you have children, talking through the process of what's going to happen and what it may be like, and that you love them and you're going to be there, and what that's going to feel like. I know you went through a significant move at 5 years old.
Right.
You moved from Denmark to Canada. different language, different culture, different people, left all the family behind.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not pulling some heartstrings there for sure. And yet, what things could have allowed that process
Right.
to have moved better for you?
Right. And so something we encourage our clients to do, we've learned a lot of them from our own experience and from the experience of our first few clients back over 30 years ago. And that is to involve the children in the process at the right time.
Yeah.
At the right time. And what I mean by the right time is taking your young children or even teenagers to every house that you're considering usually backfires because their criteria for a new home are very different.
Yeah, because
Then
mostly
your
the little
criteria-
children are going to pick the one that's got a play structure in the backyard.
Exactly.
They don't care
Or they
about the house.
Right, or they like the toys that are in the bedroom.
Yes.
And they're having trouble separating that those things aren't coming with the house anyway. They like the color of the room versus they don't like the color of the room, or it's got a toy that they already have and so it feels great. So those kinds of things don't really help you, and it can create a lot of trauma in the life of a small child. And then teenagers are looking for very different criteria, or preteens, than you would be. And so the things they might want may be things that aren't weighted high on your list of priorities.
Like a teenager escape in the basement.
Right. That could be the reason they fall in love with the property, and you're thinking, yes, but the layout doesn't work for me, and I don't really love how it's situated on the street or the way the sun falls in the backyard, and the kids aren't so concerned about that. So huge recommendation is involve your kids, absolutely. Set the stage around what they can expect and what they might experience, and ask them questions around what they're concerned about in making this move. What are they worried about? Having those quiet conversations at home rather than in a house that you're looking at can go so far. And then what a lot of our clients will do is when they find the house that they're pretty sure this is the one, or maybe they're deciding between this one or that one, and the parents are just as happy with either one, or the single mom or the single dad, the adults in the situation or adult, are thrilled with either and really just want to get a feel from, especially their teenagers. They will bring them to help in that final selection process, or simply bring them to the inspections, if at all possible, because then you can paint a better picture of what life is going to be like.
And sometimes we do a second showing. They pick the right house. They want their family buy-in, so they're going to come to the house prior to inspection. So it's just a second viewing.
Right.
Usually, sometimes it's before offers are made. Careful with that now,
Careful, so careful.
because this market is so tight.
In certain areas.
In certain areas,
In certain
that
price points.
If you find the right house, you better just buy it, and
Right.
then show the children after.
Correct.
It's tough.
Yeah, and most of the time, and I'm going to say most, you can make an offer conditional. Conditional on your building inspection, conditional on your financing. There is the occasional time where we actually clients will purchase a home, and we do it ourselves. We'll purchase a home with no conditions, because it often gives you more flexibility in the price. And if you're in a multiple offer scenario, it may actually be the reason you get the house versus not get the house. So there are unique scenarios where you're not going to get an opportunity to do that second showing prior to put the offer in, and then even more unique situations where you don't even get an inspection slot. Because if you do the inspection and things just don't work for the family, you are able to be released from the contract, because there's always something wrong with every house. I've never met the perfect house, just like I've never met the perfect man.
What? You married the perfect man.
For me,
And I married
he's-
Mrs. Right.
I know, you just didn't know her name was Always. I know. I get it. I get how it works.
Yeah.
And so looking as much as possible at the property with the people that are going to be living in it is a fantastic idea. Not always doable.
Now let me put a caveat on that.
Okay.
I love caveats.
So do I.
If there is a significant other
Yes.
or a parent who is involved in the buying decision, maybe they're co-signing, maybe they're going to live there,
Or maybe they just have a lot of influence.
maybe they have a lot of influence, then they should see all the houses you see. Because
Yes.
sometimes they don't see what's available in their price range. And so they don't see all the, I'll call it
Duds.
frogs.
Frogs.
And then when we get
That
a
wasn't
prince,
the prince,
when
yeah.
we get a prince that I think is a prince and the buyer
they
thinks
think
is
it's
a prince, the person with influence thinks it's a frog because they haven't seen all the other frogs. So that's important that they're involved on the onset if they're going to have a significant influence in the decision
or
making.
are part of the buying
Right.
process.
So for someone resetting, what things do they need to take in consideration, or what things do they need help? And when I say resetting, they're resetting in a new area, either new city, new province, new something, big change for them and their family.
Right. And it could just be from one side of Ottawa to the other side of Ottawa. If you're moving from Orleans to Osgood, which is, strangely enough, a very common move, or from Barrhaven to Manotick, even though it's only 10 minutes away, it's very likely that if you have young people living in your home, little beings, that schools are going to be affected.
Absolutely. Now, if you're doing a short distance move, certain things can be left the same, like maybe your church or your doctors or sports.
Your sports facilities.
Maybe.
Because
some sports, like hockey, may have a territory.
And soccer.
And soccer and that sort of thing. Now, as an adult sports player, like I play pickup hockey, and I've had clients move into Ottawa, and their first question is there any pickup leagues? How do I find them? How do I find a group of men that I can play hockey with at a reasonable time or whatever?
Right.
And that sometimes can be a struggle for someone resetting.
Mm-hmm. And so schools, I'm just going to backtrack to that for a moment, because that's an area that we can give you the current school list for each type of area, and we can certainly give you great information to know where your kids would be going now. And we normally, pretty much always, ask our clients to get involved in that part of the process, because it matters to you not just today, it matters to you down the road. We just had a client last week, actually, which was relocating from another province to here. We knew what schools the kids would go to based on where the house was located. And we said, just call the school, have a conversation. What was happening in a year or so, and not all their kids were going to be in school now, in a year or so, the boundaries were changing. And that was going to mean that their younger children would be forced to go to a different school than their older children.
Yeah, because the older ones would be grandfathered because they're already in the school.
Right, and the younger ones wouldn't be. Well, we don't want that to happen to you. So being involved
but it wasn't just another school.
No.
The difference was
another
hour
time
and
slot.
slot, because the one school started half an hour earlier for buses, and the other school, well, an hour earlier, actually. There was an hour difference. Yeah. So if can you just imagine that if you've got 4 or 5 children, and they have to leave, some leave an hour earlier, and then the others come back an hour later, how that can affect the dynamics of the household?
Oh, crazy, right? Like something you don't want to have happen. So doing research when you're resetting is huge. Mm-hmm. And schools is probably reset area number 1, sports is reset number 2, and then being able to get a doctor. I mean, you may not choose an area based on a doctor because you can go a little bit further, especially in the Ottawa area, to get a doctor of your choice.
Typically, you don't see them all the time, so...
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
But if they're special, and some of our clients are moving to the city because of health challenges and because of what is available in our city. So then it becomes...
Special needs children that need more.
Yeah. And so you just want to make sure that everything that's important to you, you tell us so that we can make sure that any of those things that have to reset in a new area, we can make sure that they are answered well so you don't accidentally buy a house in an area that doesn't actually work. Looks great, but doesn't actually work.
Yeah, because it's an expensive mistake to buy the wrong house in the wrong area.
Or the right house in the wrong area.
Yeah.
Because that just made it the wrong house, actually. And then finding contractors, all the service industries, having to reset all of those things, we could really help with.
Yeah.
We've spent the last, 30 plus years developing a list of preferred service providers. So just 2 days ago, actually, yesterday, I guess that's a day ago, one of our clients reached out just through Messenger on Facebook and said, I know you have an amazing kitchen guy. We're doing some few minor renovations in the kitchen. We've relocated from very far away, like overseas, although this used to be home. And we know you have somebody great. Can you give us an introduction? Absolutely. So very happy to introduce. And I prefer not to throw a blanket list out there because our list is always being updated. And depending on what specifically you're looking for, I may recommend a different painter than this painter because they both are good, but they're good for different reasons. Right? Yeah. And so being able to narrow down on that. So know that we'll help you reset and restart in those areas. And we talked mostly about the downside of restart.
We did. Let's talk about quickly.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time. But there's a lot of positive reasons to hit reset. And it can be a new blended family. We're coming together. We need a big spot, or we're having children.
Yeah, that's exciting.
We're busting the seams of our house and we need a bigger house. Could be our income has increased and our lifestyle's improved and we're able to afford a bigger house
that suits us better,
or a better location, or that kind of thing.
Or maybe I've paid down my mortgage. Maybe you paid down your mortgage so much that you go, the pressure's off. We really are feeling pressure in the house, so we need more space. Financially, we're not feeling pressured anymore. So let's get something that suits our family better. So just the ability to move into something that works better.
And sometimes it's someone called me the other day and they said, well, we're thinking of maybe moving to the country. We're both retired. I just want to ride on a lawn tractor and, cut an acre of grass or so and just smell the birds and the bees and the wind and the trees. And
you smell the birds and the bees?
Yeah, some of that. You know what I mean. Smell the flowers.
There you go. We'll smell the flowers. We've both been tripping up a lot. Because kids have gone to university and now they're gone. They're living in residence and you don't need to be close to educational facilities. Or maybe they're done university and now it's your season to go play in the yard. And or maybe you've taken on more animals and you want to be able to walk them and run them and just have more fun that way.
Yes. So we're so delighted and grateful that for over 30 years, the Decker team has been able to help families thrive at home and life.
Right. So if it feels like we're a good fit for you, call us. If you don't think so, don't call us. Because it really is all about fit, isn't it? It's about connecting and helping us each move forward and thrive in life and family.